See it played, the Marshals Volume 1, Junot and Soult in Portugal. This is the Junot 1808 scenario. And we've completed all of turn 1. We're about to begin turn 2. And this play format is working perfect. It's been days since I played last, and everything is covered. All the units are on their fog of war side. And the off-map order of battle displays are still covered. So I've created as much fog of war as I can. So we'll get started with turn 2. Okay, phase A of the sequence of play. Phase A of the sequence of play is initiative, and I just realized, I guess in the future, to play this game, I'll probably want a scanned copy of the counter sheet next to me to get values off of it. Because now I'm not even going to look at my army commanders, my commanders in chief. There's Junot on the French side, Wellesley on the British or Allied side, Anglo-Allied side, and I need their strategic values for rolling initiative. Junot rolls 2. I believe his strategic value was 0. I believe. And Wellesley, I believe, is 2. So Wellesley rolls a 2 plus his strategic value of 2 is 4. So Anglo-Allies win the initiative. I was right about Wellesley having a strategic value of 2. That's the 2 in the lower right in yellow or gold there. Next thing about... Okay, so it's not a choice. The player who wins the initiative goes first. But first, we have to move on to phase B, which is events. This is also going to be... This also is going to be hard to do solo. For this turn, I'm going to go ahead and draw randomly, obviously, a British event chit. So the British draw... That's way too hard for me to pronounce. Fire, I think. And here, I'm going to have to draw randomly the French event too, because I believe... Well, yeah, because it's a dual... It's a dual phase, and isn't that interesting? Both the British or Anglo-Allies and French drew event chits that are not played immediately, not required to be played immediately, because they don't have the asterisk above the E. But some would, and I guess if they're played immediately, then I would have to do that before going on to the operations phase. So, okay. But I will put the French event chit over there and look at it more closely when I get to the French first operation. Okay. And that reminds me that the Anglo-Allies have the option to move the fleet. And interestingly enough, the French did occupy the port near Vimeiro there. So the British fleet, I keep trying to say Anglo-out, the British fleet will stay at Peniche. No reason to move south. Okay, so at this point, I need to reacquaint myself with what's going on. The Anglo-Allies are up 1 victory point, and that's because, as I recall, the French did not battle at all during the first turn. There's a lot of maneuver, and obviously we haven't fought a single battle so far. I won't really discuss that now, but I'll just point out that I like that a lot. The game of maneuver and the degree to which maneuver looms large, I like. Now, hopefully that's not just my play style. I do wonder how the game would play differently if one or both sides basically prioritize seeking battle. might be interesting to try in the future. But right now I'm just trying to be strategic as possible. And I haven't seen a clear-cut option for battle yet on either side. So, all right, first I got to get reacquainted with the situation in the theater here. Okay, first take a look at the event chits. This, of course, is the initiative chit that the Anglo-Allies drew on the first turn. And I'm still going to hang on to this because I think this is going to be more valuable later in the campaign when there's a clear-cut reason why the Anglo-Allies need to go ahead of the French in a turn. And then, of course, we drew fire this turn. So that's right there. By the way, it says 1808, 1809 because this event marker, actually both of them, are used in both scenarios. So I need to review what fire is. I haven't looked at that yet. So in the back of the rulebook, Chapter 9 events, we have fire. It's an Anglo-Allied event chit used in both scenarios. Phase C during a combat. So this event chit may be used during the operations phase, phase C, during a combat. If a British unit is part of the stack, add 1 to the Anglo-Allied combat power, potential power, CP. Non-cumulative with the rifles event for the same combat. Okay, not cumulative with rifles. Okay, so the Anglo-Allied situation is pretty straightforward, being completely consolidated in this clear area between Rolica and Vimero. So looking at the French situation, definitely spread out. They again hold this middle line, river and mountain line. Now they have some defense and depth here. So the big question, I assume that, this is Wellesley, and I assume these are the decoys. These are the 3 Anglo-Allied decoys, okay. So, several questions for the Anglo-Allied side. One, actually, now that the Anglo-Allies have leaned seaward to the seaward side, the Anglo-Allies now race back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be 2 movement points per trail connection here. So 2, 4, 6. And actually, see, the Anglo-Allies could lean to the landward side again, and even go 2, 4, and then they would put themselves within 1 march of the mountain crossroads there. Which again is a key place, because if the Anglo-Allies break through here, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to Lisbon. So do they lean back to the landward side and basically try? Why would you do that? Because of the variability. Okay, so let's look at this. Because of the variability of marching, as you draw fatigue markers randomly, and the east-west route here is all trail, not road, right? So our roads are interesting enough, except for the very top here, where we have an east-west road between Óbidos and Rio Maior. Other than that, the roads are all north-south. Okay, interesting. Okay, so this road across here is all trail. So for example, for this stack to reinforce here is 2-4. This one is 2-4-6. And this one is 2-4-6-8. So roughly, artillery is only reinforcing from about here, and you're really only well, yeah, I guess you can get infantry and cavalry from here just barely, but if the Anglo Allies can basically, it's not a feint, but strike hard, what is it? East, yeah. Strike hard east. The French do one of three things, right? They try to reinforce this place as best they can. 1. 2, they decide they've been outmaneuvered again and they pull back. They pull out of this defensive area, zone. Or 3, wait, I'll look at it as 2, but here's either they pull back because they've been outmaneuvered, or 2, they try to reinforce as best they can and take some fatigue loss in the process. Basically, loss from take strength losses from fatigue. And if the Anglo Allies can keep that pressure up, basically if the Anglo Allies can force the French to push their marches to the extreme, then the French army could take losses from fatigue. Of course, the Anglo Allies would still have to exploit that. Still have to exploit that. But I don't know. It's an approach. Or the Anglo Allies push on just one here, threaten Vimero, not to mention Torres Vedras and the road to Lisbon. Interestingly, using the concept of a horns of a dilemma, moving here would threaten these two, which the French really need to. Well, there's strong incentive for the French to hold both, which by definition divides their force. Now, if the Anglo Allies do move here, there is the option for the French to make a race for Peniche and I think cut off the Anglo-Allied land army from the British fleet. I'll double check that at some point, but this would only be from here, for example, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you'd be drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, well, I guess 5 fatigue. That's really pushing it. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's the same. So maybe the French can't safely make a one-turn dash for Peniche. That's interesting. Okay, so the first question is I guess the third option is to backtrack to Rolica and then come down here and attack Torres Vedras now. Or go this way and attack Torres Vedras. But, I guess you could backtrack and go here. But see, here you're only threatening Torres Vedras directly. And maybe this defensive zone indirectly. Whereas if you go here, you're threatening both. Vimero is a port. And then the second big question for the Anglo-Allied side is if and when to divide the army. And I still think, well, I'm going to experiment with a whole nother turn here. I'm thinking of experimenting with a whole nother turn of keeping the Anglo-Allied army consolidated. I think it's an interesting idea. I think, well, at this point, I'm thinking the Anglo-Allied side has a strong incentive to stay consolidated, but ready to divide in order to take advantage of a French vulnerability, whereas the French, well, yeah, the French are basically on the defensive, so the French have an incentive to divide. The Anglo-Allies are on the offensive, trying to take Lisbon, liberate Lisbon. So the Anglo-Allies have an incentive to stay consolidated. By the way, I think the French standard there is maybe an onboard reminder of the particular VP rule that affects the French. There's not much to say about the forces. Of course, we have the initiative event chit, which I want to use later when it's specifically relevant, when the Anglo-Allies have to get the first operation in the turn. We have the fire event chit. That'll be relevant when we actually go into battle. Of course, the third big question is, do the Anglo-Allies do battle this turn? See, this is very, very interesting. I imagine it would be nothing to just march right on, for example, Torres Vedras now. It would certainly seize the central position. By the way, I have no memory of what's there, but other than the fog of war elements in the game, I imagine this can't be that strong. It is a city, though. But I don't think it would be that much for the Anglo-Allies to just march on Torres Vedras, go into battle, try to take it. But the question is, why? Before going into this session, I was just reminding myself that, again, my thinking as of now, I may have to revise this later, but basically going into battle, if you're trading losses, then you're not gaining anything VP-wise. And as a matter of fact, Anglo-Allies are going to lose that 1 VP per turn with no combat. So, yes, they could attack Torres Vedras now. And by the way, there is a simple time. There's a simple time factor here. The Anglo-Allies are going to have to. They are going to have to break through at some point. So actually, it's in the French interest. On the one hand, it's in the French interest to simply slow the Anglo-Allied army down. But on the other hand, if in slowing down the Anglo-Allied army, the French merely allow a large chunk of their army to be destroyed in battle, then they've lost that advantage of slowing the Anglo-Allies down. And of course, the French always have to remember, because the French, I think, began the campaign quite a bit weaker, and it's the French who have to defend. Yeah, the French have to defend Lisbon. Okay, with all those considerations in mind, I'm going to. So I'm going to march. So Wellesley doesn't have to do any type of command check. His army is automatically in command. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. I think and I'm about to prove the point one way or the other. I don't think there are any freebie marches. The way the modifiers stack up. So Wellesley is going to take the entire Anglo-Allied army, march 2 movement points along the track there to that clear area. So they move. No command test required. Now, they're going to draw 1 fatigue marker for just the march. +2 for a total strength that's over 20 in steps. That's 3. And he has a clear route of connection. Yeah, line of communication. He has line of communication back to the fleet there, so that's not okay. So we have to draw 3 fatigue chits. We can put 1 back for having the baggage trains present and another one for Wellesley's presence. But, yeah, 1, okay. So they can't avoid 1 fatigue chit. And it is possible to draw because Trant, the commander of the Portuguese infantry, oh no wait, it's not possible, it's not possible to bust the morale. Let me double check this. Okay, a quick check anyways, shows that actually this is a freebie. This 1 connection or 1 area march is a freebie because the worst I can draw is a 3 fatigue chit. And I thought for a moment there I remembered that it was steps. It's not steps, it's morale. So this is the worst I can draw with 1 draw, fatigue 3. The 3 has to exceed the morale of a unit. And if it exceeds the morale of one of the infantry units, then it loses a step. But Trant is already at, or still at, morale 3, so we can't, and that's the lowest morale. Yep, that's the lowest morale infantry unit. The lowest cavalry morale is 4. That would only stop the cavalry. That would not lead to any step losses. So, okay, so I guess in effect it is a freebie march. Okay, so they've marched 1. I'm going to rotate it to show that it's activated. At least for this 1 more turn, I think I want to threaten these 2 areas, like I said. If nothing else, this might force the French to act. Now, if they just reinforce the line there, then the Anglo-Allies can make a decision. Of course, the more the French bring up on a line, the less defense in depth they have if the Anglo-Allies break through. Okay, so I think that is the Anglo-Allied operation. So pick up in another day with the French.